What's kind of like some practical advice on A, how to reduce the risk, and B, what do we do when we do sprain that ankle?
Yeah, I mean, there's some good research out there and evidence to suggest like good proprioception training helps with reducing the risk of ankle sprain. So, you can't go wrong, adding that into your training program. I know, there's often doing unstable surface training can be a bit controversial at times, but if you think about a lot of the ankle sprains that occur in the league, it's when a player lands on someone's foot, so it is an unstable surface. So landing on a foot and like just having that ability to respond quickly to that turn, and it might not prevent it fully, but you can reduce the severity of it. So just being like having better ankle awareness from developing proprioception, and then having good strength around the ankle joint itself and the knee and the hip, because although the ankle you want to be strong to reduce the forces or the impacts, you also need good knee and hip and overall trunk strength to control the forces and the alignment of the body, because the core strength is key too, and the ability to control your center of mass when you're landing. When your center of mass is off balance, that increases the risk of injury and reduces the alignment of the lower leg, which can cause those potential risk factors. So I think having a good program that helps with training good alignment, good movement control in multiple directions, and then not just like focusing solely on the ankle, but overall lower leg strength and core strength is key, as well as proprioception. So
it always comes back to like good training.
Exactly.
So like good do your proprioception, do your like direct ankle stuff, but at the end of the day, it's just good training.
And then good recovery, because if you're fresh, there's less chance of if you're fresh, then your ability to cope with when you go outside of your boundaries is a lot greater than when you're not fresh, when you extend yourself. So staying fresher, you can respond quicker to the situation. Whereas if you're not fresh and you're fatigue state, then your risk comes higher.
How about when we do sprain the ankle? I think this is an issue, is people don't rehab it because we're so immune to it. We're like, another sprained ankle. Once the pain goes away, I'll get back. What are some ideas on ankle rehab? Yeah,
and I'm a believer in like don't just like offload it and rest completely. I think early mobilization is very good, but it's like how much you're doing. You've got to be sensitive to how much pain you're in. So the pain's going to dictate it. Always be smart if you've got like get an X-ray if you're worried about something, just to rule out a fracture. But often, with an ankle roll, it's just going to be ligamentous damage. And if you've got swelling, then one of the best things initially is compression. Compression is probably the highest thing, just getting some compression on that ankle just to help facilitate that recovery process. And then just early mobilization in water. Water training is fantastic, because you can offload it. You also get that micro massage from the water and just helps flush it out. And then just doing like contrast bathing and helping the circulation going. And then just don't be too fearful of it. Like just try and use what your body's telling you as a gauge of how much activity you should do, but don't be too fearful of it. You got to restore that, and then just gradually start restoring it by getting in the pool, walking in a pool, jogging in a pool, and then just start building things up again. But the worst thing you can do is just like not put any weight through it for like 2 weeks. Completely offload it, or go into a boot and do nothing, because you just lose all the muscle around the leg, and then you really start to detrain. So I think light early mobilization is okay. Compression is really important, and then just like being smart with your tolerance, and then listening to your body. If you've done too much, then just reel it in the following day, and then use that as your baseline, so you know where you're at, and then just gradually build from there.
Are you okay with pushing through a little bit of pain, or is it like, let's load it as much as we can with absolutely no pain?
I think you got to understand the difference between soreness and pain, and then the levels of it. And you expect to have some soreness, and that's normal. It's just how much you have. And like if it's a 2-3 out of 10 soreness, then that's comfortable. But if somebody's like pushing into 8, 9, 10 pain, then that's not right. So I think soreness is fine, and it really is about how the response is. So if you've got soreness and you're responding well the next day or after the session, it's not swelling up, then you know that's a positive thing. So you're okay with that. But if you get in soreness and then it's reacting poorly, then it's a problem. You know you're doing too much. So then that's when you have to reel it in, and take it step by step. But yeah, it's like early mobilization, but smart mobilization. Don't like think you can just play through it. The body needs time to recover, but it recovers well with motion.
Right. Yeah. What kind of stuff would you do in a pool?
So I would do just ABCs with the ankle, just getting it moving.
In the water?
Yeah, in the water, yeah.
So
just light stuff to start with. So just like moving the ankle around, just trying to restore some mobility.
So ABCs like A to Z?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, A to Z, just like moving the ankle. So you're kind of writing out the alphabet, that type of thing. Writing your name, whatever it is, just so you're trying to go through the full range of motion and just getting, restoring that in a comfortable way, because the micro massage from the water will be helpful and the additional compression. And then once you're like comfortable with the range, you could just start like going up onto your toes. So obviously in a pool, you're like 50% body weight usually, depending on how deep it is. So you can start putting a bit more load through it, going up onto your toes, walking on your heels, walking on the outside of your feet, the inside of your feet, in a comfortable way. And then you can even start like some little skipping drills, then build that into like jumping and landing drills and all stuff that you can do just to gain your confidence before you start doing that back on land.
Yeah.
Same thing, then you start building that stuff back up on land with, a bit more resistance as you go.
Right. I know a controversial one is ice or no ice. They used to be like the standard, everybody has to ice, and then some people are like, no, actually we want some of that inflammation, like you don't want to stop that process. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and that's why I didn't really mention it, because it's like the old school is kind of rest, ice, compression, elevation. Where the thing with ice is, and I still do ice injuries, but it's about the time that you do, and you have to be smart with how long you put it on for, because it can have the negative effect, because you don't want to freeze a joint, because that's going to inhibit the healing process. It's about facilitating that inflammation and that process. So that's why I always say compression is the number one. That's going to be the most helpful. And then ice is about cooling, not freezing. So you want to cool it down, but you don't want to leave it on for too long, where the skin is like completely red. Because one, you could get an ice burn.
Yeah. You
could really damage a nerve. I've seen that before, where people leave ice on for too long. And three, when it gets that cold and the temperature's that low, you actually inhibit the circulation in a negative way. So you are like completely slowing down the chemical reactions that's going on, but then you're not allowing them to facilitate. And often that happens with tendinopathy too. I feel like there's a lot of icing unnecessarily on tendons post-practice, when really the tendon hasn't been overloaded. So why are we icing something when we actually want that adaptation? Sometimes that adaptation after you train is a positive thing. So you have to be careful when you ice, how much you ice, and how long for.
Right.
So I do think cooling is good. And there are some devices that are coming out now that actually are more in depth with the temperature. So it's all about temperature, cooling it to the optimal temperature.